And count on. WAAY 31 News at 4 starts now.
We begin 4 o'clock with the search for a bank robbery suspect in Madison. Authorities say this man on your screen walked into a Regions bank claiming he had a bomb.
We must turn that anguish into action. Our nation depends upon it.
Calls for change. Many Americans calling for stricter gun legislation after the school massacre in Texas, but not all agree.
Plus, from helping others to being your new possession. Lauderdale County selling 2 trailers used during the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And another hot day across North Alabama. Here's a look at current temperatures, upper 80s, even a 90 poking out there in Decatur. We are tracking how many more hot days we can expect this week. Thanks for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 4. I'm Dan Schaefer.
And I'm Marie Waxel. Right now, Madison police are searching for a robbery suspect who told bank employees he would detonate a bomb if he didn't get what he wanted. Madison police now say the package he left behind was not, in fact, a bomb or any other type of explosive device.
WAAY 31's Olivia Schuler joins us now live from Regions Bank in Madison. Olivia, what are the latest details on this robbery?
Dan, police are now searching for the suspect that they say walked into this bank earlier this morning with a package, holding that package, putting it on the counter and telling workers if they moved, that explosive would go off. We now know that that explosive was used as a scare tactic towards employees of the Regions Bank. No explosive was found despite the suspect saying so to a teller. Madison police say Huntsville Bomb Squad rendered the device, and just before 1 p.m., the suspect did make it out of the bank with an undisclosed amount of cash. Right now, police are looking for a suspect matching this description.
A black male subject, about 5'6", 120 pounds, had camouflage pants on, had a gray army sweatshirt with a surgical mask and a wig that appeared to be dreadlock in nature.
Everyone here at the time of the robbery did make it out safely. The bank closed for the remainder of the day. Now, if you have any information on the robbery that took place here at the Regions Bank, you are asked to call Madison Police. That number should be on your screen right now. We'll keep you updated on this story on air and online for WAAY 31 Evening News. Reporting live in Madison, Olivia Schuler, WAAY 31 News.
All right, thank you, Olivia. We want to give you another look at the suspect at this hour. Again, a black man who wore a gray army shirt, camouflage pants, a wig, and mask. If you know who he is or have any information, you're asked to call police.
New information on the Texas school massacre, the first of the 21 victims being laid to rest today.
This as a bipartisan group of lawmakers continue negotiations on gun reform with growing calls for stricter gun laws. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
One by one, the 21 victims of the Uvalde Elementary School massacre being laid to rest.
Although I have celebrated many funeral masses, this certainly is, the situation is different. It's as if one huge funeral that is not ending.
The small community and the nation in mourning as we come to terms with yet another mass shooting in this country. Calls for gun control growing louder. Some of those calls coming from the families of victims. Felix and Kimberly Rubio lost their daughter Lexi.
There's no reason for just the average citizen to have these type of weapons. What for? What do you need them for? Like, is it worth my kid? These kids?
A group of bipartisan lawmakers working on a 10-day deadline, trying to reach an agreement on potential gun reform legislation.
We must turn that anguish into action. Our nation depends upon it.
A smaller group of lawmakers meeting via Zoom Tuesday to continue what are being called serious negotiations. Several proposals that would restrict access to guns, including expanding background checks on gun sales, which has been voted down in Congress multiple times. Red flag warnings, which would prevent someone from possessing a firearm if they have certain histories of concerning behavior. Also being discussed, funding for more mental health resources.
Discussion with the larger group is expected later this week. Meantime, President Biden has promised that he will meet with Congress to discuss gun reform. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Now, exactly 3 weeks from today, Senate candidates Mo Brooks and Katie Britt will face off in the primary runoff election. One of the key topics on many voters' minds, gun laws. WAAY 31's Nicole Zedek spoke to the two candidates about their views on restricting gun access in the wake of the school massacre.
Well, ever since the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, people across the country have been protesting for stricter gun legislation. But here in Alabama, our two Senate candidates say restricting gun use is not the solution to the mass shooting crisis. Now, Katie Britt was not available for an interview today, but she gave me this statement saying, quote, "On my first day as Alabama senator, I will introduce legislation to ensure states have the resources needed to have an armed police officer in each and every school across our nation. I do not support additional gun laws that infringe upon our Second Amendment rights. Taking away guns from law-abiding citizens or restricting their access to guns isn't the answer." Now, Britt's opponent, Mo Brooks, agrees that restricting access to guns is not the solution, arguing people could purchase guns long before mass shootings became so abundant.
Guns were available when I was growing up. Guns are available now. When I was growing up, we did not have these mass shootings like we have now. The big difference between when I was growing up and today is the decline in our moral values. That is the root cause of the problem.
Brooks says in the past few decades, there has been a culture shift in America. And he says younger generations aren't taught the same moral values and therefore don't have the same respect for other lives. He says government-run schools should be teaching moral values inside the classroom. Now, Brooks also says that red flag laws, which allow courts to issue a protection order so police can confiscate firearms from someone who's deemed to be a danger to themselves or others, those types of laws, they don't do anything but deny people of their constitutional rights. Now, I spoke with a former congressman about the likelihood of any gun laws actually changing here in Alabama, and he gave me a pretty bitter look at what really happens in Washington. All of that tonight on WAAY 31 News at 5. Reporting live in studio, Nicole Zedek, WAAY 31 News.
All right, thank you, Nicole. The House Judiciary Committee plans to vote as soon as Thursday on wide-ranging gun control legislation. The Protecting Our Kids Act would raise the lawful age to purchase a semi-automatic centerfire rifle from 18 to 21 years old. It would also establish new federal offenses for gun trafficking and for selling large-capacity magazines and allow local governments to compensate individuals who surrender such magazines through a buyback program. We'll make sure you stay up to date with the very latest information on the Texas school shooting and the debate over gun control. Just download our WAAY 31 News app. You can also find our complete coverage on WAAYTV.com.
Coming up on 408, here is a live look above Lake Gunnersville from our WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Sky Camera Network. Very pretty day. Another hot one, though, across North Alabama. Good one to be out on the lake, I'd say. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Kate Mckinnon.
She's in our Storm Tracker Weather Center monitoring how long these hot conditions will stick around. Kate?
We've got another day where we're going to have highs back into the lower 90s and upper 80s. That one more day is, of course, tomorrow. Things are changing by Thursday. One thing that I want you to notice here are these what we typically call fair weather cumulus clouds all across North Alabama. Clouds building in the heat of the day and then they fade once we get past sunset. I have seen some clouds trying to build farther toward the east, but not much in the way of rainfall activity. I'll show you that in just a second, but it's 86 degrees right now in Gunnersville, 88 in Huntsville and Muscle Shoals, 90 degrees in Decatur. So here's the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network. As I was driving into work this afternoon, I could see the clouds building over Sand Mountain, but I'm not picking up much here on the radar. We'll keep watching that for you, though, as we go throughout the rest of this evening. Otherwise, it is warm, it is quiet, 80 degrees by 8 o'clock, mid-70s still by 10 o'clock. I'm tracking what's in store for tomorrow and that next cold front coming up.
Thanks, Kate. Make sure you're prepared for any weather Mother Nature throws our way by downloading the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Weather app. With that, you'll have access to the live weather updates for your neighborhood. It's free for Apple and Android devices.
All new at 4, they've never been slept in. Lauderdale County selling a pair of wrecked trailers it picked up during the worst of the COVID pandemic. The trailers were used as mobile vaccination centers, and now they can be yours. WAAY 31's Matt Kroschel went to find out why they're selling them now.
The county dubbed this Vax 1 and Vax 2. They launched the first of those mobile clinics here when they started seeing the lines at hospitals and clinics stretching for hours. County officials saying the program resulted in 1,388 clinic hours, and that resulted in 3,198 vaccinations from April through November of 2021.
Baltimore led the way and bought them before anybody did, I guess, in the state because of our health department and the lines that were on Chisholm, the lines running way down Hilton Drive, and we realized the need. People want vaccinations, so, and a lot of people were asking me about it. So it's played its course, though. I mean, it got down to 4 or 5 a day, as it were, on each end. So.
County doesn't have a need for them anymore.
No, sir, and I think everybody's vaccinated, been vaccinated.
The pair of Raptors have a capacity for 90 gallons of water. They have gas tanks, a living room, shower, restrooms, kitchens, bedrooms, and another room on board that could be used as additional living space. They also have a washer and dryer hookup, and I'm being told that there's already a lot of interest in these trailers. Again, $87,000 for each, and they could be yours. Reporting in Lauderdale County, Matt Kroschel, WAAY 31 News.
Thank you, Matt. And here's a look at the vaccination efforts in Alabama since the pandemic began. According to the state health department, more than 6 million vaccine doses have been administered thus far. That's 63% of the more than 9.5 million doses delivered. Of the doses administered, we know more than 833,000 were booster doses.
Working to combat inflation.
President Biden not following the actions of those before him as the country deals with high prices.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna, and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
New information on the growing concerns surrounding inflation. President Biden writing an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal on the topic and meeting with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell.
The president saying he will not look to influence the Fed's decisions, something he says past presidents have done. ABC's Ike Ajachi is in Washington with more.
President Biden meeting today with Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell to discuss ways to reduce inflation. In a Wall Street Journal op-ed on Monday, Biden said he wouldn't seek to influence the Fed's policy decisions inappropriately, unlike former President Trump and other past presidents.
I'm not going to interfere with their critically important work.
In Germany, a member of the Fed board said the U.S. Central Bank should be prepared to raise interest rates by a 0.5 percentage point at every meeting until inflation is curbed. Back in the U.S., prices at the pump and the supermarket continue to soar.
Food, gas, everything. It's hard for you to make a living and go to work.
AAA says the average price of gas is now over $4.62 a gallon, and it's the first time the average price exceeded $4 in all 50 states. And one gas station in Los Angeles charging over $8 for a gallon of gas. Industry analysts say as summer travel begins, the spike in demand, coupled with a long-standing oil supply shortage from the pandemic-induced production slowdown, could drive prices even higher. Biden largely placing the blame for high gas prices on Russian President Putin and his invasion of Ukraine, a sentiment shared in part by EU leaders, who today finalized a cut of nearly 90% of Russian oil imports by the end of 2022.
This comes at a time when we see that Russia has disrupted supplies to by now 5 member states.
Biden's approval rating is below that of Donald Trump, as well as the 5 previous presidents at this point in their term, largely driven by concerns about the economy.
My plan is to address inflation. It starts with a simple proposition: respect the Fed.
One positive sign in the economy is the labor market, the unemployment rate dropping to 3.6% in April, and some economists expect it to drop further to a pre-pandemic low in the coming days. Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Washington.
On Wall Street, stocks closed down Tuesday amid worries about a possible recession, runaway inflation, and rising interest rates. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 223 points to close at 32,990. The Nasdaq Composite Index shed 50 points. The S&P 500 dipped 26 points.
New details this afternoon as Russia remains defiant in the face of sanctions from the West. The European Union is trying to deal a new blow to the Kremlin's war in Ukraine. The compromise for a partial Russian oil ban took weeks to hammer out. It blocks more than 2/3 of Russian oil imports immediately and 90% by the end of the year. The head of the European Commission says, quote, EU member states are coming together to strengthen their sustainable energy supply. 2 Russian soldiers will spend more than a decade in prison. A court in Ukraine's Poltava region sentenced Alexander Bobaikin and Alexander Ivanov for violating the laws of war. The court said it found no evidence of coercion. Both men pleaded guilty. Hillary Clinton's campaign attorney, Michael Sussman, found not guilty of lying to the FBI about his role in the Trump-Russia probe. The acquittal is a major defeat for special counsel John Durham and his Justice Department prosecutors, who accused Sussman of lying during a 2016 meeting with the FBI. A meeting where Sussman passed a tip about a possible cyber link between former President Donald Trump and Russia. Durham claimed Sussman was trying to manipulate the FBI to help Clinton win while hiding his ties to Democrats.
Weather coverage you can count on with Alabama's weather anchor of the year, WAAY 31's chief meteorologist, Kate McKinnon.
It's another hot afternoon across North Alabama. Temperatures ever so slightly above average. We're at 88 degrees right now in Huntsville and in Scottsboro. 90 in Decatur, 88 in Muscle Shoals and Moulton, 86 in Fayetteville and in Gunnersville. The WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network not showing much this afternoon. Look closely on the satellite view and you can see those clouds kind of building, especially closer to Sand Mountain. Not getting anything out of those clouds just yet, but I'll keep my eye on them. There is the slightest chance for a stray downpour tonight. Same thing goes through tomorrow afternoon. And I say tonight, I really mean this evening, because overnight we're back to a quiet picture here. A mostly clear sky. Temperatures dropping into the upper 60s. It's a calm wind and it's a quiet night all around. It's how we start our Wednesday as well. So let me take you through the rest of this evening through tonight into tomorrow morning. There's your mostly sunny start to the day. As we get into the afternoon, I did bring in a 10% chance for a stray shower or storm tomorrow. I keep seeing this in the data sources. It's not impossible, but most of us are going to be staying dry. As we go through the rest of the evening into the overnight, anything that builds up during the afternoon then kind of collapses overnight. And then we turn our attention to Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Not much activity just yet, but give it some time, because by the afternoon, we're going to pick back up here in just a second. We've got a cold front that's going to be on approach. So for tomorrow, our pool forecast, temperatures 91 degrees, another hot one, another great day to spend lounging by the pool. But if you do so, 15 minutes, that's all it takes for a sunburn to develop. So sunscreen, an absolute necessity this time of year. Now let's turn our attention back to Thursday. And you're looking here at 7 o'clock Thursday evening. And at this point is when we've got our best chance for showers and storms. They really start to peak during the afternoon and then continue through the evening hours in the first part of the overnight. It's not impossible to get a couple of showers earlier in the morning, but just to know that as we get that daytime heating building in and that cold front is approaching, that's when we start to see the greater coverage of showers and storms. And as we go through the rest of Thursday night into Friday morning, I have removed your rain chances for Friday because we're pretty much going to be done with this. And an isolated shower possible still lingering overnight Thursday into Friday, but aside from that, that's all we're going to get out of this cold front. Something else to point out to you, rain totals are not very high with this. We're talking scattered showers and storms, locally higher amounts always possible within these storms, but just generally speaking through Friday, it's a 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch in total. Your 7-day forecast shows that your overall chance for rain on Thursday is 60%. Look at the drop in temperatures. Now the temperatures are lower Thursday because of the cloud cover and the rain, but once that front passes, we're down to 65 Friday morning, 82 Friday afternoon, and for Saturday, our highs, they're still running in the mid-80s. We bring back that daily isolated storm chance Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Marijuana and your risk of having a stroke. In just a few minutes, we take a look at how researchers say the two may now be related.
Now at 4, marijuana's effect on the body and brain is still being studied.
While we know it can affect memory and attention, researchers say it may also affect a person's risk of having a stroke. With more, here's ABC's Justin Finch.
Marijuana is a commonly used drug that's still federally illegal. Marijuana use has already been linked to higher risk of first-time stroke, possibly by damaging heart and blood vessels. but a recent study suggests young users are also at higher risk for a recurrent stroke. Researchers from Mercy Fitzgerald Hospital in Pennsylvania said studying marijuana risks is important because of how common its usage has become in young adults. They found young adults with active marijuana use disorder were almost 50% more likely to have a recurrent stroke than those who were not regular users. They also found males, young black or white adults, and people living in low-income neighborhoods had the highest numbers of cannabis use disorder. And young adults ages 18 to 44 with cannabis dependency were also less likely to have high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol, which are usual stroke risk factors in older adults. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch.
Alabama's inching closer to having marijuana available for some medical use.
The Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission is ironing out rules for business licenses for cultivators, processors, dispensaries, and testing labs. A Madison County farmer on the commission said rules for growers should be set by mid-July. If you're looking to grow medical marijuana for the state, applications will open in September.
The search for this man now underway in Madison.
Authorities saying he robbed a bank while claiming to have a bomb. Latest details next.
You're watching Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 News at 4:30 starts now.
The search for a bank robbery suspect underway in Madison. Authorities now want your help finding the person responsible.
Plus, the debate over gun control dividing the country. The Texas school massacre sparking calls for change.
And a hot one across North Alabama as you take a live look above Decatur. We're tracking how long these hot conditions stick around. Thanks for staying with us for WAAY 31 News at 4:30. I'm Marie Waxel.
And I'm Dan Schaefer. We begin with the search for a bank robbery suspect in Madison. Police say the man went into the region's bank at the intersection of US 72 and Wall Triana Highway and told people a small package he had was a bomb. We now know the package he left behind was determined not to be a bomb or any other type of explosive. The suspect is a black man who wore a gray army shirt and camouflage pants. He also wore a wig and a face mask. We have a picture of him at WAAYTV.com. If you know who this is or have any information about the crime, call police. A Marshall County man is charged with sexually abusing a child. Authorities arrested this man, Olin Morris, Friday. Sheriff's Office said the victim is older than 12 years old. Sheriff's Office, Department of Human Resources, and the Marshall County Child Advocacy Center investigated the case. Morris is being held on a $250,000 bond. New information just in on the Texas school massacre. State police now say the Robb Elementary School teacher who propped open an outside door that the gunman used to get inside closed it, but it didn't lock. Investigators initially said that teacher propped the door open with a rock and did not remove it, but now they have determined the teacher did remove that rock and close the door when she realized there was a shooter on campus.
We're also learning the Uvalde City Police and school police are no longer cooperating with the Texas Department of Public Safety investigation into the massacre. This comes as one by one, the 21 victims of the Uvalde Elementary School massacre are being laid to rest. The small community and nation in mourning as we come to terms with yet another mass shooting in the country. Meanwhile, the calls for gun control are growing louder. Some of those calls coming from families of victims. Felix and Kimberly Rubio lost their daughter, Lexi.
There's no reason for just the average citizen to have these type of weapons. What for? What do you need them for? Like, is it worth my kid? These kids?
A small group of lawmakers met today to continue what are being called serious negotiations. On the table, several proposals that would restrict access to guns. Those include expanding background checks and red flag warnings. We spoke to both Republican candidates for U.S. Senate about gun control. In a statement, Katie Britt said, quote, "On my first day as Alabama senator, I will introduce legislation to ensure states have the resources needed to have an armed police officer in each and every school across our nation. I do not support additional gun laws that infringe upon our Second Amendment rights. Taking away guns from law-abiding citizens or restricting their access to guns isn't the answer," end quote. Mo Brooks agrees, Restricting access to guns is not the solution, he says, arguing people could purchase guns long before mass shootings became so abundant.
Guns were available when I was growing up. Guns are available now. When I was growing up, we did not have these mass shootings like we have now. The big difference between when I was growing up and today is a decline in our moral values. That is the root cause of the problem.
Brooks said in the past few decades there's been a culture shift in America, and he says younger generations aren't taught the same moral values and therefore don't have the same respect for other lives. Well, this debate is far from over, and we're going to stay on top of it for you in any of the new developments that come out of Uvalde, Texas. You can count on us to bring them to you as we learn more right here on WAAY 31.
4:34, here's a live look at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center from our WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Sky Camera Network across the interstate on Calhoun. It is the last day of May. It's a hot one across North Alabama. Let's check in with WAAY 31 Chief Meteorologist Kate Mckinnon.
She's in our Storm Tracker Weather Center now, monitoring what we can expect tonight and for the rest of the week. Kate?
Well, temperatures are staying on the warmer side, not only, of course, this evening, but then through tonight into tomorrow morning. Right now, yes, it's hot. 88 degrees, our current temperature in Muscle Shoals. Clouds are building, but we're not going to get much in the way of rain out of these clouds, but we are reporting a mostly cloudy sky. You're able to see those clouds in the background. Wind out of the south is 6 miles per hour. Now back in Huntsville, it's more of the same, reporting though a partly cloudy sky, 88 degrees as well. Wind also out of the south at 5 miles per hour. The WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network has been showing us a pretty quiet picture, a couple of little pop-up showers here in northwest Georgia. And if I take you on a closer view here in DeKalb County, this is the only shower that I can find right now in between Powell and Henniger. So as we go through the rest of tonight, no, it's not impossible to see a stray shower this afternoon, but most of us are going to be staying dry. And we really didn't have much of a rain chance in our forecast today, but notice it's spiking to 60% on Thursday. I'm tracking the cold front that goes along with that chance for rain coming up.
Thank you, Kate, and make sure you're prepared for the rest of the week by downloading our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. With our app, you'll have access to the latest and most accurate forecast for your neighborhood. It's free to download on your Apple and Android devices.
New at 4:30, Alabama head football coach Nick Saban goes on the defensive. Again today, he said he never should have singled out Texas A&M or any other school for their players' name, image, and likeness deals. You'll remember he said Texas A&M bought every player in its top-ranked recruiting class. Let's go to Sports Director Nolan Knight now for an in-depth look at Saban's latest comments.
Yeah, Dan, just about everyone was curious what was going to go down in Destin after Saban and Jimbo Fisher exchanged words in a couple weeks back in a back and forth. Today, we saw it. Saban spoke at the SEC meetings that are underway in Florida this week, saying that he never said anybody did anything wrong in his comments 2 weeks ago. That heated up a national conversation over NIL deals. Saban also says he has no issue with Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher. Saban tried to steer most of his comments away from Texas A&M and more towards his view on how NIL deals are changing college football.
In terms of, a player says, well, I'm just getting the transfer portal and see if I can get more someplace else. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying that's the road that we're going down.
Saban went on to say he wants to see uniform rules on NIL deals, much like what the NCAA set for scholarships. He also wants to see programs focus on helping players prepare for their future instead of just trying to get as much money as quickly as possible. Reporting live in studio, Nolan Knight, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Nolan. All criminal charges against former Alabama football player Jerry Jeudy were dismissed today. He was arrested 3 weeks ago after Judy's child's mother accused him of controlling her property. Judy's attorney said after reviewing the evidence, he always believed no crime was committed.
Back here in North Alabama now, new details on a search and recovery effort underway in Coleman County. State troopers say Frankie Crucy drowned yesterday afternoon trying to retrieve a canopy that fell from his boat. It happened on Smith Lake near Miller's Flats. Boaters are asked to avoid the area as those recovery efforts continue.
New information, Supreme Court officials are ramping up their investigation of a leaked draft opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade. In an unprecedented move, they are now asking law clerks to provide phone records and sign affidavits in their search for the source of the leak. Sources say some clerks are so alarmed by the sudden request for private cell phone records, they're considering hiring outside counsel to handle the probe. Chief Justice John Roberts called the leak absolutely appalling and suggested one bad apple had tainted public perception of the court. And speaking of public perception, a majority of Americans, 54%, now say they disapprove of the job the Supreme Court is doing. That's according to a new poll from the Marquette Law School. The findings represent a dramatic shift from how Americans viewed the court in March, when only 45% said they disapproved.
Well, like the rest of the country, our state is seeing an increase in COVID-19 cases. The state health department says Alabama's positivity rate is nearly 13%. Nearly 3,500 people tested positive within the past week, but health officials say that number doesn't tell the entire story.
Over the last 6 to 8 weeks, we've seen a gradual increase in the daily numbers, both the percent positivity, the number of patients in the hospital, and the number of COVID infections that are being diagnosed statewide. And we know those are underreported because people may not seek care and may do an at-home test and not see a mandatory report.
The state health department also says 6 North Alabama counties are considered to have a high level of overall community transmission. Jury deliberations still underway.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard waiting for a decision as they sue each other.
New information this afternoon, jury deliberations continuing in the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard defamation case, each suing the other with claims and denials of domestic abuse central to the case. ABC's Morgan Norwood has the story.
The jury in the Amber Heard-Johnny Depp defamation case returning to the deliberation room for a second day, combing through 6 weeks of testimony from both sides claiming to be victims of abuse.
Johnny has taken enough of my voice. I have the right to tell my story. I have the right to say what happened to me. I have the right to my voice and my name.
It's insane to hear heinous accusations of violence.
Depp suing Heard for $50 million over a Washington Post op-ed that she wrote in 2018, describing herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Johnny Depp wasn't named in the article, but is now a jury deliberating which side to believe, with millions of dollars at stake. And a source close to the trial telling ABC News that jurors must answer 7 questions when determining whether Johnny Depp and his legal team have proven elements of defamation. That decision, though, must be unanimous. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.
New at 4:30, U.S. home prices continued to surge higher in March as buyers raced to lock in homes before the average mortgage rate hit 5%. Home prices rose 20.6% in March from the year before. It's the highest year-over-year price change in more than 35 years of data. According to the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index, prices were strongest in the South and Southeast. The great reshuffling of jobs has been a huge reason why home prices are skyrocketing. New research shows home prices jumped 23.8% during the pandemic. 15% of that growth was due to remote work. Many people turned to warmer climates, which is driving prices in certain cities higher. This great reshuffling created a nationwide demand for housing as more and more people work from home and get to choose where they want to live.
We're learning new details about travel during Memorial Day weekend. You're taking a look at how many people passed through TSA airport security checkpoints yesterday and on the same day for the 3 years before that. As you can see, more than 2.3 million people caught flights yesterday. That level was near the normal number we saw back in 2019 before the COVID pandemic nearly diminished travel entirely. Those numbers, despite thousands of flights being canceled over the weekend. Now, Delta Airlines is taking action to reduce headaches this summer. It's cutting about 100 flights a day. The airline said the move is to, quote, minimize disruptions and bounce back faster when challenges occur. The airline cited rising demand and the challenges of rebuilding Delta's full-scale operation. The cut flights will be from July 1st through August 7th, mostly impacting markets in the U.S. and Latin America. If you're trying to avoid the high prices for plane tickets, you might not save much by hitting the road. And of course, it all depends on where you're going. According to Gas Buddy, the national average price per gallon of gasoline, $4.61. Here in Alabama, we're paying slightly lower, $4.30 on average, but that's up nearly 50 cents compared to last month.
New at 4:30, a huge chemical plant fire forced some residents to flee their homes in Omaha, Nebraska. Firefighters battled flames overnight at the Knoxcrete facility. It manufactures a variety of products, including liquid floor hardeners and water repellents. Explosions could be seen as part of the building collapsed, rupturing propane containers on site.
We had propane bottles that exploded and some other chemicals in there. We're not sure what chemicals they were that exploded, but we did have a projectile flying at least 50 feet in the air from those explosions.
Thankfully, no injuries were reported.
Hasbro may have counted the thimble out, but fans are putting it back in the game. The company announced the popular token is returning to Monopoly after kicking it out back in April. Fans of 6 retired pieces, the thimble, horse and rider, wheelbarrow, iron, boot, and money bag, could vote to have one game piece make a comeback. And the thimble, yes indeedy, it was the winner. It'll replace the current T-Rex token in a refreshed Monopoly series.
Weather coverage you can count on with Alabama's weather anchor of the year, WAAY 31's chief meteorologist, Kate Mckinnon.
Hot and mostly sunny is the story again today. 88 degrees, our current temperature in Huntsville and in Scottsboro and in Athens and in Muscle Shoals. We're at the 90-degree mark in Decatur, 84 in Guntersville, 86 in Fayetteville. This is the view right now across Lake Guntersville on the WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Skycam network. Notice all of the blue sky, those fair weather cumulus clouds, those cotton ball-like clouds. They try and build during the afternoon in the peak of the daytime heating, but then they'll fade away past sunset tonight. The WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network showing a pretty quiet picture for us. We've seen a couple of downpours across the state line out into north and northwest Georgia, but as far as rain chances for us today go, they are pretty much zero. As we go through the rest of tonight into tomorrow morning, temperatures staying mild once again, 69 degrees by 5 o'clock on your Wednesday. And then as we go through the afternoon, as hot, if not a degree or two hotter than what we have been seeing on this Tuesday. So let me take you through the rest of this afternoon and evening through tonight into tomorrow morning. I told you that the clouds fade away. We'll be starting tomorrow with a mostly sunny sky. Then as we continue through the afternoon, here's 3:30. I brought in a 10% chance for a pop-up shower or storm tomorrow afternoon. You'll see why here. Most locations are going to be staying dry, but that rain chance is present, low as it may be. Through the rest of the evening into Wednesday night and Thursday morning, it does stay mainly quiet, but we can see a couple of showers across our mainly northwestern counties early Thursday morning. Much higher rain chances through the afternoon with an approaching cold front. So tomorrow, our last hot and sunny day for a bit. 91 degrees, your forecast high. Wind out of the west, 5 to 10 miles per hour. As we get into Thursday, I've stopped this here at noon to show you the scattered showers and a few thunderstorms that start to build in here right along the cold front just off to our northwest. Then as we go through the afternoon and evening hours, notice all of that kind of building in with the peak of daytime heating. As we get into Friday, we're pretty much done with the rain chances, so I've removed the chance for rain on your Friday. Just briefly here, we'll talk about what are now the remnants of Agatha over Mexico. We're looking at maximum sustained wind at last report, 30 miles per hour. I want to give you an idea, though, of what's going to be happening here, what will likely happen over the next 48 hours to 5 days. The National Hurricane Center is giving Agatha's remnants a 40% chance of tropical development in 48 hours, a 70% chance in 5 days. So we'll be watching this. It's no threat to North Alabama, but Florida stands to get a good bit of rain from what, if it's a named storm, would then become Alex. 7-day forecast shows that 60% chance for rain on Thursday and some cooler temperatures behind the cold front on Friday, 82 degrees. Still looking pretty nice to start the weekend on Saturday.
Words you've probably never heard and some you certainly can't spell.
The Scripps National Spelling Bee is back, but with some changes.
Scripps National Spelling Bee is back and fully in person this year, but there are some changes since the last pre-pandemic bee in 2019. As a lingering impact of the pandemic, some schools and sponsors have unfortunately dropped out. In 2020, there were 245 sponsors. Now there are fewer than 200. Regions were also consolidated, plus the bee has fewer than half of the spellers it had 3 years ago. You can watch the finals this Thursday evening at 7 on WAAY 31.2 Ion Television.
The Rocket City Trash Pandas will look to extend their lead in the Southern League tonight. The boys from Madison are on the road for Game 1 of a 6-game series against the Chattanooga Lookouts. This is the second series between the two teams. The Trash Pandas dominated in the first matchup, taking 5 of 6 games. First pitch tonight, set for 6:15.